Hello everyone. I am bringing you a real treat today. We're having a double dip. So Lynn Koolish from Berkeley.
Yep.
And Sarah Bond from
Philadelphia.
What a treat. So these are two of the teachers that are at the Quilters Affair that happens the week before the quilt show. So that's the quilt show's the second Saturday in July every year, and we have 5 days of classes, and Val and Jean invite teachers with expertise from all over the world to come teach so that you can come visit us and sisters and maybe get that favorite teacher. And so you've had lots of students, happy students.
Yep, we have.
Yes, and two totally different genres.
We are.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So I understand that you were a book editor, is that
I
correct?
was. I worked at C&T Publishing for about 19 years, and I retired from editing about 2 years ago.
Only 2 years ago.
I think it's only been about 2 years.
So when were you quilting the whole time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been quilting for about 30 years.
And then when did the dyeing start? Not like dying, but
This kind of dyeing.
Yeah.
Probably about 20, 25 years ago.
So that's a long time.
It's a long time. I love color, and I like playing with color,
Uh-huh.
and dyeing was just a way to literally get your hands into it.
Right, and Berkeley is a place for.
Oh, well, I mean, you can walk down the streets of Berkeley and still see lots of tie-dye, so you know.
Yeah.
It's definitely amenable to dyeing.
Uh-huh. And so, do you have children?
I do not.
So
We have cats.
And do they quilt?
They don't. They just
Oh.
get in the way.
Oh, jeez.
Have you ever been able to get a cat to do anything you wanted it to do?
No, but
No.
they sit right, as soon as that quilt hits the floor,
They're on it.
On it.
They're on it.
They claim it.
They
They're
do.
not just on it; they claim it.
And they shed
Indeed.
on it.
Now, do you have children?
I do. I have 2 children.
Are they quilters?
My daughter, Grace, can quilt. I'm not going to say she is a quilter, at least not right now, but she can quilt.
Oh, there's hope then.
She
there.
has quilted.
There is hope there then, huh? So how long have you been quilting? You come from a long history of quilting.
I do. I've been quilting. I made my first quilt in 1979, and it was funny because my mother came in while I was doing this, and she looked at me and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm making a quilt." And she said, "Why?" And I
She
said,
wasn't. She.
No. My father's family, the quilters are in my father's family. My mother was a crafter. She was a knitter, and she did
that's-
embroidery,
yeah.
but she was not a quilter. And so I told her, I'm not exactly sure why I'm making this quilt, but I feel compelled to do it. And then I found out later that there were many quilters in my family.
Many quilters in your family. So when did you start teaching quilting?
I started teaching quilting locally probably about 20 years ago.
And that's in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And then when did you expand to start traveling to teach?
So I joined the Modern Quilt Guild in Philadelphia because they started meeting 5 minutes from my house.
Uh-huh.
And
That makes it convenient.
well, because working full time and then living in the city, and by the time I got home, and then most of the guilds were in the suburbs, it was really difficult for me to get anywhere by
Right.
7 o'clock to
Right.
find that community. So they started meeting close by, and so I became acquainted with the Modern Quilt Guild, and I was convinced to enter a quilt, and it got in, so I was like, oh, well, I better go. So I went to Pasadena in 2015, and I won a 3rd prize
Ooh.
Wow,
In,
that's
um,
big.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
in Modern Traditional.
Uh-huh.
So, and then I saw Victoria Findlay Wolf, who had just
Yeah.
been to give us a
New York.
workshop.
Yeah.
And she said to me, "Are you going to be teaching next year?" And I said, "No. Nobody knows who I am. No, I'm not going to be teaching here next year." And she said, "You should email them." And I said, "They have no idea who I am. Nobody knows who I am. And she took her finger and she pointed at me and she said, "You call them." And so I did, and they picked me up, and I've been teaching at QuiltCon ever since.
Ever since.
And then I just, my full-time job is sort of backing off to part-time.
And what job was that?
So I work for a small private equity firm. I do accounting and financial projections.
It's these to work for publishing, to work in accounting, and then let's show these
Oh,
quilts.
and then we get to work with our hands.
Yeah, but look at that. That is so not, you know, it's, you know, like for me, who's a pattern follower, it's not lined up like in little blocks that all match with the points.
Right. Well, now that I'm not working at CNT anymore, I can confess that I'm not very good at following directions.
Oh.
I don't like to. I don't like to follow directions.
So
I am good
first,
I am good
wait a
at
second.
editing, and I'm good at being logical to make sure instructions are correct, but I don't like following them.
I want to know what the employee evaluations were like. I would like the name of that human resource person that did your evaluations.
Well, that was all
Are they
pretty
like,
varied, but
thank God she found another career. She's so successful.
I
at
was
it.
really good at editing.
Uh-huh.
I have a very logical mind. I used to be really good in science and math, but
Okay,
There's quite a bit of logic involved
But
in this.
I don't like following specific directions. It's like in my brain, if somebody else has already made something, I don't need to make it again because it's already been done.
Uh-huh.
I like kind of following my own inclinations.
Wow.
So
Wow. You're a
So
rock
I do.
star in my
So-
mind.
So I do. You
Well,
know.
I
But then you look at something like what Sarah
Yes.
does, and I go, oh my God, it's amazing.
So this is more precise, I suppose, but it's a product of play for me. So I was playing a lot with color here, and then I found that recently I've been interested in working with neutrals. So then
Wow.
I did some work with grayscale here,
Uh-huh.
and so I used my little phone, no big technology, so I would make a block with what I thought was a lot of contrast in terms of color, and then I would convert it to a grayscale and then try to choose grays from my stash to
Okay, back up. What do you mean you used your phone? My phone. Okay, how do I use my phone?
so you take a picture of the block
Yeah,
and then you go to edit
yeah.
and you go to either mono or you change it to black and white essentially.
Oh.
And then I went to pull out the colors that I saw in that black and white photograph and I replicated the block. And so this is half bright color and half grayscale.
You should be on an Apple phone commercial.
But,
Yeah.
so what you're saying is that the relative values are the same.
Yes.
Oh.
So
That's
this
fabulous.
Is a study in
That's
value.
great. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
great.
gosh,
That's
that is
really
so
smart.
different.
That's really smart.
So do you draw your pattern out, or you're just kind of picking the fabric and then just flipping and sewing and going for it?
So this is I drafted this. This is a sort of a New York beauty variation.
Uh-huh.
And I draft my patterns actually in Word because that's what I used for many, many years in the office, and I was too impatient to learn a new program. So I just made Word do it for me,
Uh-huh.
and it did.
Now, we used to get people who did their patterns in Excel
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
because you have all those
Yeah.
little squares,
Mhm.
and that's
Uh-huh.
how they would plan their patterns.
Wow.
So you use
Yeah.
you use what you're good at.
You're stubborn,
Uh-huh.
you make it work.
That's right.
So where can they find you to? How do we find you?
So I'm really trying to get with the 21st century. You can find me on Instagram on SLB Philly, and you can find me on Facebook. There are a lot of Sarah Bonds on Facebook, so you might have to add quilter to your search, but you can find me there as well.
And do you have a website?
Not yet.
Oh, come on.
I know, right? I'm busy
So how do
quilting and
people-
working.
Yeah, but how do people find out where you're teaching the next class, or where they can, if they want you to come teach?
So I
How
always
do they-
post those things on both Instagram and Facebook.
Uh-huh.
People find me. People message me on
Quilters are such stalkers.
Instagram. They are, or I should say we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they find me on Instagram or Facebook, and they
Uh-huh.
chase me around.
Wow. And so how about you?
So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I have a website. And fortunately, there are not very many Lynn Koolishes.
yeah.
In fact, I don't know that there's any other, so I'm pretty easy to find.
Uh-huh. And then on your website, then you have your schedule.
I have my schedule.
So they can say, oh, there's a hole in the schedule, so maybe I'll ask her to come.
Right. So on my website, people can see the classes that are already scheduled and where they can see all of the classes that I teach. So yeah, so if it's somebody who's trying to schedule me for a show or a group or a guild, they can just look at the classes that are available and get in touch with me and say, are you available, here or here.
And are you both willing to travel anywhere in the world?
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Look at you two.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you were going to take a class, who would be your favorite person to take a class with? And because you're in sisters, you don't have to say Jean Wells. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't every time I come to teach at something like this, particularly at Sisters, there is a large part of me that is very wistful about the fact that I don't
Yes,
get to take
I know.
any classes.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I would
feel
take
it.
I would take Lynn Koolish's
Well,
class.
thank you.
Oh.
I would take Jean Wells's class.
Well.
I would, because these are things I don't get to do.
Yeah.
I could do this all day long.
Right.
I don't need to take a piecing
Right.
class, but I would love to
Right.
take
Something outside of your
something to
blocks.
stretch a little.
How about you?
I mean, a class with Jean would be wonderful. I actually edited Jean's last few books, so
have you?
So I have.
Oh, so
Okay, so I know-
is she does she have any say in the editing part?
Oh yeah.
Or-
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that
oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely.
I know nothing about.
Absolutely. When I was working at CNT, we always worked very collaboratively with the authors, but in general, in the end, we get the final say. But working with Jean was always great because she's very collaborative, and it was really easy to have the back and forth with her.
So would you take like a Lori Thorne mystery quilt, or would that?
I wouldn't, and I wouldn't take a traditional class because I hate trying to make things. Because I mean, when you look at this is just it's so stunning and it's so even and it's so straight, and I'm not good at that. I generally lean towards more surface design classes, so classes that involve dyeing and painting, or mixed media, things like that. Because there's always more to learn.
Right.
There's always more to
There's always more to learn.
Well, I know at the
What
end.
are you teaching?
Nothing. No, on Wednesday I taught someone else's pattern. See, I am not a designer. I am a tactician, I guess it would be. So I teach Stacy West buttermilk basin patterns, which are those wool patterns, and I enjoy that stitching. So that's what I do. But these 2 days, I'm just entertainment for the sit and stitch, and that's just to make sure no one's eating a hamburger in the library, and drinking a Coke, and that they're all behaving themselves and they're all having fun. But at the end of my class, my youngest student, I should say, and she looked like she was in her 30s, I would guess. Hopefully she was not 16, but no, I think she was in her 30s. And her, so I was talking to her a lot because I'm interested in finding out how we get that next generation in. And I wrote, I write every Wednesday for the quilt show, so like four weeks ago I put out a survey trying to figure out what's going on in our world, and maybe we have to adjust something. And out of the hundreds of people that answered my survey, only one was under 40. So that's something for us to think about. But I think that there is a lot of facets to what makes that happen. But her mother came in to visit her at the end of class to help her get out by 3:30, and she had just come from Utica.
Oh.
Betsy. And she brought all of the fabric she had dyed, and was just laying it out there. And I think there's a lot of freedom that comes in doing something. If you're a traditional quilter, doing something that is different, but also in this case, looking at, when I think of New York Beauty, I don't think of this. I think I took a New York Beauty class from Jean years ago. She had a book.
Val did.
Oh, Val.
Val had a book on New York.
But actually it was her mom teaching
But
the class.
but they were very non-traditional New York beauties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, different sizes and shapes.
And different
stuff.
shapes and not
This
as,
has like maybe the Amish community is trying to step outside the box, because of the solids. But this here, this part of it is totally, I think, a clever. I would have never thought to do that with my phone.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think that's just a brilliant approach in terms of
Yeah.
replicating the values.
Well, and
You get just such an, because I started looking going, oh, because it's dark here and dark here, lighter here, and then this is the reverse, where the thinner strips are the lighter value and the inner's the darker. And I went, oh wow, that's really cool.
I'm
well,
going to
and-
look at my phone a totally different way.
right? Your phone
Yeah.
is a spectacular
Oh,
tool for quilting.
yes.
Because it's an eye, it gives you an eye that you don't
Yes.
have.
Yeah.
Yes. The other thing that the phone is really great for, yesterday and the day before we were doing a collage class. And when you're kind of working improvisationally, you make an arrangement of something and you go, I'm not sure I like that. So you take a picture of it and then you rearrange it and you take a picture and you can keep working. And then if you go, oh, I really liked it best the first way, but I don't remember what I did, you've got it on your phone. You can go back and recreate it.
And that's good for anything. That's good for
Yeah.
if you're trying to figure out what set you want to use.
Right, what colors,
you want
exactly,
to use.
exactly.
Yeah, it's really useful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it was our
because I know
pleasure.
you're all tired, and boy, we have another evening program.
We do.
Yes, ma'am.
We love it.
This is my favorite place to teach. I have to say, and for me, the facility is perfect for what I do. It's always a great bunch of teachers, and the setting, everything about it is so wonderful.
It is a little
So-
like,
And what's so wonderful about it, I mean, they treat us as teachers like royalty.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's structured so that I actually get to know the other teachers.
Right. We get to
That
spend
doesn't
time
happen
together.
at any of these other
Oh,
is that right?
festivals. Really not. I mean, you might, but it's really not made easy for you to do that. And
Right.
making connections,
Yeah.
for any kind of artist, whether you're teaching or whether you're just taking classes.
and
is
I do think in our
wonderful.
world, our the quilting instructors need to
Interact. Oh yeah, it's
Interact.
great. We all learn from each other.
right.
Even we were sitting at lunch today talking about, how do you do this on Instagram? How do you do that on Instagram?
I was giving
So we were-
Instagram and Facebook lessons at lunchtime.
But it's great. I mean,
See, I
because
missed that.
that's how we learn stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
always
thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
us over.
And can I just do a
Oh
little
yeah.
shout out?
Oh yeah.
So I want to do a shout out to Chris Brinkley. Hello, Chris Brinkley in Philadelphia. I know you'll be watching, and this is for you.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
And be sure to like and subscribe on Quilt Roadies.